Watch out for cash money, cause we landed down. Money making is my thing, cause I'm trying to be rich, trying to put away meals. That's why I'm in the studio dropping hits, dropping rap after rap like you sell key after key. Backed up by the best fresh, dropping beat after beat. My clique is the hot boys, best believe we so high and dangerous. If we in beef with the whole block, no fading us at all, player, cause we roll too deep. With AKs off safety, knocking busters off their feet. I go by the name WG. I ride on chrome and the 98 Lexi S3. I bust it down for baby on this B3. Because I know one thing, he'll do the same for me. We family, cash money is the homie, better yet a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, look here, it ain't gravy. Don't try to knock me, player, cause I'll leave your head stale. Light you up real good, you will never get well. Cash money is the homie, better yet a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy. Cash money is the homie, better yet a Navy. So if you ever play heavy, for you it ain't gravy.
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast. Give myself, I was prepared to do that before the show because it's been a long day, man. Hey, I've been on the road all day, man, since early this morning. But I'm back at home, man, as y'all can see, back in South Carolina. And ready to talk New Orleans Saints, man. Thank you for tuning in to the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Shouts out to everybody tuning in. This is not going to be a very long show, not at all. I just wanted to give my final thoughts on the New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons game. Like I said, man, I've been on the road. I drove my car from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Mississippi about a week ago, visit my family. Shouts out to my stepdad. Shouts out to him. And the rest of my family got the opportunity to spend a little time with them. But now, drove right back. 11 hours, man. 11 hours to get back here. So this, like I said, won't be a long show, but I did want to talk a little bit about this game that took place on Sunday. We got a few sound bites that I want to get to. And also, I want to say thank you to those that are in the chat right now. Those that are in the chat. Shouts out to those that are tuned in at home, at work, wherever you are, wherever you may be right now. First off, I just want to say yesterday was an experience in which it's been a long time since I experienced something like that when it comes to the New Orleans Saints. Matter of fact, over the last 2 weeks, it has been some throwback type Saints performances. I'm talking about the Saints performances that I grew up to really be frustrated, I would say, to watch, but because they were so bad, we didn't watch them. We actually had to listen to it. So I guess that was something to soften the blow. But actually, because we have all this technology, we can stream the games, we can pull it up on our tablet, we can do all these different things, right? And, just going back and watching that game, man, it is just a shame that a team that, just shoot themselves in the foot and give the opposition opportunity after opportunity to take the game away from them. And, you look at the game and there were some things that were done well in the game. There was some, things like Alvin Kamara running the football. There was Chris Olave coming on. There was, the offensive line didn't play that terrible. I know that we look at that offensive line and say, man, my goodness, but they didn't play that bad. They actually played better than I kind of thought. But it still wasn't enough. And then you go back and you watch the Atlanta Falcons basically do absolutely nothing on offense, and seeing the Saints give 14 points to the Atlanta Falcons, it was extremely frustrating, man. The Saints are now at 2-2, and I'm still trying to figure out why. I'm still trying to figure out how. How did a team as talented as the New Orleans Saints have been starting off the season, the first 2 weeks, just basically just go back down to earth? And there's a few things that have been going through my mind as far as why I feel that is. Number one, I don't think that this is a bad football team. And I think that a lot of Saints fans would agree with me when I say that. This is not a bad football team. As a matter of fact, they're a good football team. That's what makes this so frustrating, because we know that this team has the capability to be successful. That's number one. The second thing that I notice is that the New Orleans Saints, they just have bad luck. Like, I'm speaking to some of the older Saints fans that experienced some of those Saints days in the 80s and the 90s, where it just seemed like the Saints were going to win a football game or going to be able to get on a little bit of a streak. And then all of a sudden, like, just something that just out of the realm. I'm talking about the probability of it happening is 1 in 99 billion. And it just seems like it just happens to the Saints. Just watching that game, like, you think about Rashid Shaheed. Rashid Shaheed is probably the most dependable punt returner in the NFL right now. I mean, I've seen Rashid Shaheed like catch a pass like that was a punt over his head like this, like as if it was this a simple little toss pass about 5 yards out. And yet he loses himself on the field, forget where he is on the field, and just makes a terrible mistake. And I'm trying to figure out how that can happen. I guess, it's just the fact of you understanding the magnitude of the game. The game just started. Your defense got to stop. Now it's time for you to get the ball back into the hands of your offense in order for them to try to drive down the field. Maybe you're still thinking about the butterflies in your stomach, thinking about those type of situations. I just don't understand it, but it's just something that just probably would never, ever happen again as long as Rashid Shaheed is playing in the National Football League. Then you think about, the pick six from Tony Anderson. I'm calling him Tony because I knew his name is Troy Anderson, but I'm calling him Tony. Tony Anderson decided to, get that pick six and run to the end zone for a touchdown, outrunning Chris Olave. Will Chris Olave have caught him if he wasn't dealing with a hamstring injury? I mean, stuff like that. You just think about like all of the things that could happen. Like, it was bad luck. And when you combine some of the mistakes with bad luck, you have yourself one of those classic New Orleans Saints football teams. And, when I was just thinking about it, I know some people think that I was rushed to judgment when I put that tweet out about Derek Carr and Dennis Allen. I don't think so. And I'm going to get into that just a little bit later. But I do want to acknowledge this donation by David. David says, let's pull off the upset next Monday night in the land of Kansas City barbecue and make Mahomes, Reed, Kelsey, Taylor, and the Swifties cry. Well, that would be great. And, the crazy thing about it is, I want to say, Kenneth, shouts out to him, yesterday. I think that, when he was talking, he said that the New Orleans Saints were the type of team that they would have a game like this against Atlanta, and then they'll come back and win in a game they have no business winning. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the Saints beat the Kansas City Chiefs. It wouldn't. It's not like the New Orleans Saints, once again, are a bad football team. It just seems like they have a tendency of getting in their own way. And when you do that, you're going to lose more games than you win because you just can't get out of your own way. It's just a bad luck type thing going. It's a black cat rolling around the facility somewhere, in the words of Stephen A. Smith. Like, there is something that is going on, man. And I think that when the season first started, I don't think that it was an outlier to a point where, we just, that was just a bunch of guys that were just out there playing loose and free, and now they're not anymore. I think that it was the element of surprise. And also, I think that it was the motivation of starting strong because of the skepticism and the reluctance to embrace this football team by the fans. And by going out there, putting forth these performances, they brought the fans back in. They brought us back in. But let me go ahead and play a few of these sound bites. This was from today's press conference from Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen spoke a little bit about the game and some of the things that took place in the game. The question on everybody's mind was, what about the late moments of the game? It just seems like every time the defense goes out there and they're supposed to be able to put clamps on this game, put the final bow on this game by getting a stop, they just can't seem to do just that. So the question to Dennis Allen was about closing games, and this was the head coach's response.
I think we need to improve. I think we need to be better. I think we need to put ourselves in position to win games and figure out how to close them out and how to finish them. And that's what we haven't done a good enough job of doing. And so we collectively, players, coaches, everybody, we have to do a better job when we put ourselves in those situations of being able to make the right, whether it be the right call, the right play, whatever the case may be, to win in those situations.
So he talks about closing games. And man, I don't want to be one of those people that just nitpick, but I just got to keep it real. This type of stuff didn't just happen when he started becoming a head coach of this football team. I can think about times when the New Orleans Saints needed a stop when Dennis Allen was the defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints, and the same situation kind of revealed itself. I mean, I think about that 4th and 2 with George Kittle inside of the Superdome. Traquan Smith catches the final touchdown for the New Orleans Saints that afternoon, and all the defense had to do was make a stop. It was 4th and 2, and Jimmy Garoppolo throws the ball to George Kittle, and he drags about 3 New Orleans Saints down the field, right? I can think about a game versus the Atlanta Falcons, ironically, inside of the Superdome. Matt Ryan throws the pass to the right sideline to Cordell Patterson, and you had Paulson Adebo over there, right? And Cordell Patterson catches the pass and sets up a field goal, if I'm not mistaken, in order for them to win the football game or something of that magnitude. All I'm saying is this seems like a reoccurring thing throughout the years. Now, there have been stops. I'm going to say that. I mean, I think we remember the interception by P.J. Williams, the pick six to seal the deal versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers when Tom Brady was there. You know, I can think about some moments where they actually close out the game. But it just seems like as of late, when you need that stop, it doesn't seem like it happens. And the most frustrating thing about this Who Dat Nation is when you see the defense playing lights out for 3 quarters or 3.5 quarters rather, and you're seeing these same things happen, it becomes frustrating because you know that they have the tendency of being able to make these stops because you've been making these stops throughout the game. So you have to ask yourself, what is it about these final minutes of the game that they just can't seem to get over the hump? There's a separation between, you know, being a good team and being a contending team. A good team is going to look like the Saints have the last couple of weeks. Like they're going to play some really good defense. They're going to do some really good things, and they're going to find themselves in the fight. I can't remember the last time I seen the New Orleans Saints just honestly get blew out on the field. There's been some games where, you know, they basically got destroyed and they made it interesting towards the end. The game last year versus the Rams kind of comes to mind, but you never see it to a point where, you know that it was over before it started, like in the second quarter or something like that. They normally are always in the game. That is why I say, Who Dat Nation, that they're a good football team. They're a team that is going to continue to incite some type of reaction out of the fans. It's never going to be to a point where we just feel that they're just completely out of it. So that is why, as fans, as onlookers, we want to see this football team succeed because we know they have the capability to do so. But when you play lights out for 3.5 quarters and then finally, it's a final possession towards the end of the game, and then all of a sudden you're giving up big chunk plays, you're giving up big time runs, it just mind-boggling to me. And then on top of that, the last couple of weeks, the Saints have lost in historic fashion. Like the scenario of losing a football game with the type of circumstances and the type of situations in which the New Orleans Saints have been in or like something that we have never seen before. Like, I have never seen this. This may be the first time. I'm encouraging somebody to look it up to prove me wrong. But I've never seen a team who had an interception, a blocked punt, and a fumble recovery all in one game lose a football game. I've never seen a team who has never allowed a defensive touchdown in a game when they actually score points, like touchdowns, not just field goal for field goal, touchdowns. I've never seen a team lose like that. It's just unbelievable. And like I said, it's just pure bad luck. Sometimes luck is on the side. And I think that in 2009, luck kind of played a role. Being fortunate kind of played a role. Allow me to elaborate on that. Like in 2009, right? There was the game versus the Miami Dolphins. Y'all remember that game, right? It was the game where, Drew Brees dived over the top and slam dunked the ball, over the goal line. The Dolphins were dominating that football game in the beginning. The Saints had no business winning that football game. There was some interceptions that came, Tracy Porter, all these different things kind of fell into the Saints' hands. They won that football game. The play versus the Minnesota Vikings in the NFC Championship game. What are the odds of Brett Favre throwing across his body? Well, it's Brett Favre, so there's a strong possibility. But all I'm saying is throwing across your body, getting the interception, possessing the ball first in overtime, where Minnesota never got the ball back, and Hartley kicking a 40-yard field goal for the Super Bowl. It's like certain things happen. In the Super Bowl, there was a play by Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon, ironically, was running one of those crossing routes on the New Orleans Saints, and he was wide open. And keep in mind, the Colts were having momentum at that time. If he would have caught that pass, who knows how that Super Bowl would have went. What I'm saying is sometimes luck is on your side. And I just think over the last couple of weeks, this isn't sour grapes, luck has been on the side of the Atlanta Falcons. Like them or not, that 3rd and 4 with Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts called the right play. If Saquon Barkley catches that pass, they no longer have to run any other plays. Atlanta don't have enough timeouts at the time. All they have to do is take a knee. Good night, everybody. Kiss your kids. Peace out. But he dropped the pass, which caused them to kick a field goal and gave the Atlanta Falcons the opportunity to drive down the field. Then you look at the things that happened yesterday, right? You look at the things that happened yesterday. The muff punt, the pop-up interception, returning for a touchdown. It's sometimes luck is on your side. And for the last couple of weeks, it's been that way. But here's the thing. When you think about some of the scenarios and the situations that took place in that game, which I'm about to get to right here, this is Dennis Allen talking about the coverage in that game, the coverage. Now, we talked about, Paulson Adebo. I mentioned the time where, he was picked on in that game versus Atlanta when Matt Ryan was the quarterback, and that was during his rookie season. Cordell Patterson caught the pass. The question was, does DA regret him being in that coverage late in the game where you had Paulson Adebo, who was basically feast or famine that entire game? Do you regret that?
Yeah, look, I don't think we played that game and didn't allow a touchdown defensively. So there was a lot of things that we did well. And so I don't think you go into the last 2 minutes and say, well, let's all that stuff that we just got through doing, let's throw all that stuff out and let's change and do something different. We're going to play, defense the way that we play defense. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think over the course of time, it's been pretty successful, but these last couple of games hadn't been as good as we need them to be.
So he says that he doesn't regret it. I mean, I'm paraphrasing there, but it's clear that he doesn't regret the decision. And he also said in that press conference, I don't have that clip, but he basically said when you call a play and it works, it was the right decision. When it doesn't work, everybody's questioning that decision. When I think about the final 4 minutes of the game, I know that this has been a debate all day. I've heard so many people talking about. Shouts out to Jeff Nowak, Steve Geller. Check them out. Checked out my guy Matt Moscona. Checked out the beat writers for the New Orleans Saints, their show, which is really, really good. Very underrated as a podcast, man. You get a lot of information, get a different perspective, man. Shouts out to all them guys over there, man. They do a really good job. But I listen to all of the people talk about this play, and it's kind of a mixed bag. You have some people that agree with the New Orleans Saints going for it on that 4th and goal. You got some that just said that you got to take the points. I mean, where does it land? For me, I feel like you should have took the points, because when you think about Dennis Allen, his calling card is defense. His calling card is defense. And it's your job to call the defensive plays, to put your defense in position to win a football game. You had 3 timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. I'm going to say that again. You had 3 timeouts and you had the 2-minute warning. So basically you had a total of 4 stoppages within 4 minutes. You could have kicked the field goal, kicked the ball into the end zone, let it start at the 30, and trusted that your defense would be able to make plays. Now, there's only one logical explanation that I can actually give that would, I guess, help us understand Dennis Allen's mind frame. And that is, you're looking at the fact that you're depleted. No Demario Davis, no Tyrann Mathieu. You lost Willie Gay to a hand injury. I hope that brother's okay. I seen his social media. It seemed like, I don't know if he had surgery, he had his hand wrapped up. Hope he's okay. But you lose those guys, and you lose Taysom Hill. You lose some very significant players to your defense, as well as the straw that was stirring the drink in a game in Taysom Hill. He gave you 2 touchdowns before he left the game. Maybe you're looking at this situation like, I don't believe in these guys that I have out here that are available to get the stop that I need. But if you're going to instill confidence inside of a team, if you're going to try to instill that belief that you actually believe in these guys, this could be a teachable moment for some of these younger guys out here to give them an opportunity to be able to make the stop. And I don't feel bad about that, because when they needed Younghoe Koo to come out there, he kicked a 58-yard field goal, because the New Orleans Saints, after that egregious pass interference penalty on Paulson Adebo, how do you do that at that time? But they didn't move the ball after that. So they were able to buckle down. Who's to say that you won't be able to do that? Now, I understand it's a 4-minute, right? You got some options. You can run the football. Maybe Tyler Algier, the way that he was running the football, kind of scared the New Orleans Saints. Maybe he felt like his team didn't want to tackle that guy that day. Maybe he just felt like it was probably going to be a Saquon Barkley type situation. But all I'm saying is, you give those guys an opportunity. I don't think that any coach that coaches their respective side of the football, rather it is whether it's offense or defense. If you're offensive minded coach and your offense has an opportunity to possess, you're going to get that opportunity. If you can get that ball back into your hands to be able to drive down the field, you're going to talk to that defensive coach and be like, hey, just give me the ball back. I'll take care of the rest. Rather you're down by 3, rather you're up by 3, rather it's tied at 3, you know what I'm saying, at 3 apiece, tied ball game, whatever the score may be. You want that ball because you want to be able to control that. Dennis Allen had an opportunity to not only control the narrative towards the end of the game, but he also had an opportunity to show some of these young bucks that are going to be the future of this football team. Because think about this. I love Demario Davis. Shouts out to Tyrann Mathieu. Love him as a player, Cam Jordan. But those guys are up there in age. There's not going to be too many years left with those players on the field. So some of those young guys that we saw out there, the Pete Warners, the DeMarco Jacksons, the Jordan Howdens, the Will Harrises, the Paulson Adebos, those guys are going to be out there. That is going to be your defense for the next 4 to 5 years probably. Those guys are going to be out there as a collective group. So that could have been an opportunity for you to be able to instill some belief in those guys, to be able to make a stop. And honestly, if the New Orleans Saints couldn't make a stop, I would have lived with it. I would have lived with it. Because, look, if you have 4 minutes, 3 timeouts, plus the 2-minute warning, and you can't stop them from getting into the end zone, that's shame on you. Just like it would have been if they would have got into the end zone late in the game instead of kicking a 58-yard field goal and Younghoe Koo. It's that simple. So when I say all that, I said at the beginning of the season, before all of the fanfare, and I'm just going to say me. When I fell for the banana in the tailpipe that came in the form of a Carolina and Dallas game, I said, when it comes to Dennis Allen, I don't question him as a coach as far as coaching the defense. I feel like he's one of the best. I question those tight games when the game is on the line, the chips on the table. Can he deliver? And we've seen time and time and time again that he can't. So I'm just wondering, like, how many times are we going to see this? How many times are we going to have to experience this for us to understand what it actually is? It doesn't seem like this thing is going to work. Some people say, oh, TJ, is just 4 games. It's early in the season. Dennis Allen has been a coach of the New Orleans Saints for his 3rd season. For his 3rd season. He has been with the New Orleans Saints, and we have seen this. The roller coaster of emotions throughout the years, the highs and the lows. We can do it. We can't do it. I can't believe I believe this. Oh, my goodness. I'm going to try to give it one more chance. Oh, look at it, man. We doing something a little different. Oh, man. Nah, it's the same old song and dance. All I'm saying is when a person shows you who they are, believe them. And I'm starting to believe this. And I'm starting to believe that no matter what the situation is, no matter what the scenario is, we're going to find ourselves in this position yet again. And I do feel like if Dennis Allen was to win enough games in order for Mickey Loomis to be persuaded that he can be the coach of the future, it is all just wishful thinking here. Because I don't think that anything that he can do as a head coach, it will be sustainable success. I don't. I think that it's going to be highs and lows. You know, like some of those coaches, they have like really good seasons, and then all of a sudden, like they don't make the playoff for another 2 to 3 years, and then maybe in the 4th year they'll make the playoff. That is what I see. I don't see consistency. I don't see a coach that is going to be able to get the best out of his player game after game, week after week, when it comes to strategy and all of these other things working in their favor. I look at this team led by a coach in Dennis Allen that is going to put us as fans in a roller coaster of emotions and also have his players going through the motions. And I think that the New Orleans Saints did themselves a huge disservice at this point. Not to say that Dennis Allen didn't deserve an opportunity or whatever. Like, I understand that people need to do second chances, but I believe in second chances. But I don't think the New Orleans Saints really picked Dennis Allen because they couldn't find somebody that could coach this team better than Dennis Allen. I feel like the New Orleans Saints kept Dennis Allen and made him the head coach is because they had this false sense of what they were and who they were at the time as a football team. They seen, oh man, all we have to do is just get a quarterback. Yeah, that's all we need. We had some injuries at the quarterback position. If we get a quarterback, then we could be a playoff team. And they didn't want to break up that camaraderie because they felt like because Sean Payton was going away, his guys were still on staff, so we still have a chance. So they hired from within. And I feel like that was a mistake because if you would have went out and got yourself a coach that was, let's just say a clean slate coach or a coach that had a reputation of winning, and you combine him with Dennis Allen, because I feel like if that coach would have came in because of the job that Dennis Allen did, he probably would have kept him on as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator. And then you would have had your head coach and you still would have had a defensive coordinator in Dennis Allen that would have kept your defense afloat until you figured out what was going on with your offense, until you found an Olave, until you found the Shaheed, until you found maybe some support for Alvin Kamara. They would have been able to hold you down. But the New Orleans Saints, they panicked. And they didn't want to venture away from the tree of prosperity, if you will. The thing that they seen that has worked with Sean Payton as the head coach. And now, if you were to lose Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator and head coach, you'll have to end up finding somebody to be able to replicate or be as good as he was as a defensive coordinator. Now, some Saints fans will be like, that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to have, in order for me to get this success, right? I would be willing to take this sacrifice here. But all I'm saying is, you can say whatever you want about the guy. The guy knows defense. I'm just not sold on him as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints. I think that anything that he does is not sustainable. It's throwing something against the wall, hoping that it stick. And I combine that with Derek Carr, which is a big debate that's going on among Saints fans, which I'll get to in just a minute. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments. But before I do, I want to let you know that the State of the Saints podcast is powered by BETUS. Sign up and you get up to 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit. All you have to do is go to BETUS and use the promo code YouTube150. That's YouTube150. Let's go ahead and read some of these comments. Thank you all for being here, no matter what side of the coin that you're on, whether you're a Saints fan, a Bucks fan, Carolina Panthers, Falcon fan. Celebrate that dub, man. We got to see y'all again. We got to see y'all again. Celebrate that dub. But thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it, man. Let's see. This guy don't believe in his own defense, man. That's my whole point right there. He didn't believe that he was going to be able to get a stop and get the ball back. And to me, that right there is a flagrant foul for me. Especially when you are calling the plays on the defensive side of football. That's like a guy out there eating your lunch and he say, come on, let's play another game. Be like, nah, man, my leg hurt a little bit, man. I'm going to sit over here on the side. That is what that was to me. And, you got to think. You got to think, who that nation. You got to think, sports fans. Like, would you look at someone a little bit differently after that decision? I'm just saying. I'm not trying to stir the pot here. I'm just saying, if you're a defensive player and, you have opportunity to go out there, man, kick the field goal, we'll get a stop. Right? And he say, nah, we're going to try to go for it. And I don't know, there was nothing really I seen that day that I feel like 4th and goal at that particular point was just definitely going to work. It wasn't you were making plays, passing the football with Derek Carr a little bit, but not to a point where I just felt comfortable with that type of decision. I mean, as a coach, I don't think I would, but I understand, the scenario and analytics, but I just think that you should have took the points and trusted your defense to be able to get a stop. And that's what I don't think people are paying attention to. Like, you got to trust your defense. You had all 3 timeouts, man. All 3 timeouts. If you can't get a stop, you can't get a 3 and out, then I don't think that you deserve to win a football game. LOL, I'm all for holding Allen accountable, but he made the right decision in this game. I don't know if, like I said, it's no right or wrong situation with this, but I'm just saying, like, from my standpoint, all right, because like I said at the beginning of this podcast, and thank you for that, Motivated. From my perspective, I just feel like he should have kicked the field goal and trusted his defense. Like, Motivated feels he made the right decision going for it on 4th and goal. I don't like I've heard this, like this debate. It's a debate going on, and I don't know if it's 50-50. I don't know what the percentages are. Somebody need to do a poll. Did he make the right decision? And in that 4 minutes, did he make the right decision? What would you have done? Kick the field goal or go for it on 4th down? Somebody need to make a poll about that. If a poll isn't out by the time I end the show, I'm gonna put that on X. But I hope that somebody does, man. That's something that we can get going. But I don't think it was a right or wrong situation. From my perspective, I feel like you should have. I think that you should have just went ahead and took the points. But that's just me. That's just me. I just think that if I'm a defensive-minded coach, I want the defense to be the last line of defense. If my defense can't stop anybody, then at least we tried, and at least, what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it was my fault for not putting my team in position. I think, like, based on what I've seen down the stretch, I think they would have made the stop. I think they could have made that stop. I'm just frustrated overall who that nation we should be 4-0. I think that, David, a lot of Saints fans are frustrated, and they do feel like the Saints should have been 4-0, but you are what you are, man. You are what you are. You're a middle of the pack, average football team. And, that's a tough pill to swallow, because we know deep down inside, if they can put this thing together, they can go up against some of the best. Regardless of how the game turns out, the Saints have held their own against some of the stiffest competition in the National Football League. It wasn't like they just was getting roasted and toasted out there, Well, I take it back. I think that Minnesota game last year, it didn't really go their way. But that's like the outliers. For the most part, they've been battling, going toe-to-toe. And I think that even this game on Monday night versus the Kansas City Chiefs, I feel like they're going to be competitive in that game. Probably be behind the 8 ball. It might cause them some splash plays, but I don't think it will be to a point where I just think that they're just going to blow them out in Arrowhead. I think that the Saints are going to come in with a game plan. I think that guys are going to come in with their head down. They're going to come in more focused on what they need to do, understanding that they need to get this win and they're going to try to do everything that they can to try to get the victory. So, I really, truly, honestly believe that. But all I got to say is, as far as looking at this football team, looking at Dennis Allen, I just wonder, like, can this be sustainable success? Like, if you get wins, we'll feel good as fans, onlookers, sports fans, we're, watching it. But at the same time, like, is it sustainable? And, anybody can take somebody on a great date, right? You go out on a date, it's great, right? He or she picks you up in the car, like, you go, to a nice dinner, it feels good, the feng shui, the ambiance, all that stuff is great, right? You had a good time. And then all of a sudden, like, anybody can do that for one day, give somebody a moment to remember, but can they consistently give you that feeling? I ain't saying like go every single day on you know what I'm saying, on an extravagant date, but the things that, you know, that could keep things sustainable. And I that is what I question about this whole regime. Like, can you keep this thing going? Is it sustainable? It is what we're seeing. It just us just enjoying this moment together, or is it just after this, you know, ain't gonna be like this anymore? And that's what I'm questioning. And it leads me to my next point, which is Derek Carr. And I said this, man, and I'm standing by this. I am not giving up on his football team. I am not. All right. Like I said, I think that they have the right group of guys, young, along with these seasoned veterans that can get the job done. But when I look at a quarterback, I know what some people are going to say. They're going to say Derek Carr drove the Saints down the field late. They helped put the ball into the end zone. Alvin Kamara handed it off, 1-yard touchdown. I get it. But here's my thing. This is what I'm saying. When people are defending Derek Carr, when they're defending him, when they say that, oh, Derek Carr wasn't his fault, it wasn't his fault, all I'm asking people to do, right? Because what we do is we think about the end result, the last moment, the last thing that we actually seen. It doesn't matter what a person did throughout the game. It just what they did in the final few minutes. If a person played like slaw the entire game for the most part, and they facilitate a game-winning drive for a touchdown, everybody's going to be talking about that game-winning drive for a touchdown. They'll probably talk a little bit about the lackluster performance, but they'll kind of sweep it under the rug. For example, there was a big play that was given up by the Saints against the Dallas Cowboys, the big 60-plus yard touchdown by CeeDee Lamb. Nobody cared. When it happened, you take the points. We about to dominate. We good here, right? But when it happened with Dallas Goedert, oh my goodness, what's going on with this defense? You get what I'm saying? Like, when it really doesn't matter, like, we kind of sweep it under the rug. We only care about the end result, which is the dominating victory versus the Dallas Cowboys. When I look at Derek Carr, everybody talks to me about the final few minutes of a game, or, you know, a couple check downs that, you know, maybe the running back scratch, bite, and claw them ways to a first down. But nobody talks about why those situations happen. Nobody talks about why the Saints had to dig themselves out of a hole late, why there had to be fourth quarter heroics. Nobody really talks about that when it comes to him, when it comes to Derek Carr. Derek Carr is the type of quarterback, I said this, he is a quarterback tease. He teased us for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, he teased us and made us believe just maybe this dude is like, we need to give this dude a chance, give him opportunity. Maybe what we have seen, if you can put him in this situation, he'll be fine. Quarterbacks that need the perfect situation cannot thrive in the National Football League. I'm going to say that again. Quarterbacks that need the perfect situation cannot thrive in the National Football League. They just can't. Like, it's asking for too much, because you have the salary cap that you have to deal with, right? You know, if you have a good player over here, you're probably going to have to sacrifice a player over there to pay player over here, right? So you're going to have limitations. It's going to be in a form of maybe a middle of the road tight end when you're a team that throws to the tight end, average wide receiver room. You know, it's going to equate to something like that. And you got to be able to rise above your situation. When Taysom Hill left the game, the Saints only scored one more time. When Taysom Hill didn't play last week versus the Eagles, the Saints didn't score until what? Late in the game. So all I'm saying is, when it comes to quarterback play, we can't celebrate getting out of the hole, because the person that actually dug the hole, you put us in there in the first, like, you actually dig the hole. And just because the person say, oh, I'm sorry, I dug a hole, let me prop you out of this hole. Oh, thank you so much. It don't defeat the fact that they're the reason that you're in a hole in the first place. All I'm saying is, and it goes back to what I've been saying. When people say 33 fourth-quarter comebacks when he came to the New Orleans Saints, you have to ask yourself this question. How did the Raiders find themselves in that situation 33 times in order for him to have to facilitate a comeback? And I'm pretty sure the 33 fourth-quarter comebacks were the ones that were documented, but I'm pretty sure there were more games in which he needed to have fourth-quarter heroics in order for them to win the football game. I just look at him as an average quarterback. And average quarterback play is not going to be able to help this football team. The way that this team is structured right now, you got to be a little bit more than average as a quarterback in order for the Saints to be a contender, to have continuous success. It can't just be, oh, it's the last minute of the game, let me get them down the field. Like, it just ain't happening. Like, you need a little bit more than that. And I just question if the situation is not perfect around him, can he be able to consistently win football games for you? And I don't think that's the case. I'm not looking for top 5 quarterback. I'm not looking for top 3 or anything like that. That would be great if that was the case, but you got to be able to do some things and be able to make some plays on your own, to improvise something in order for you to be able to make plays. I feel like the completion percentage thing, it matters. It matters too much. Because at the end of the day, people are going to be talking about, man, y'all saying he stink, but he completed 77% of his passes. But you lost. You can say whatever you want to say about Kirk Cousins, but I'm going to tell y'all something. He trusts those wide receivers. There was time after time again, he put a 50-50 ball in the air, and he counted on those wide receivers to come down with the catch. Sometimes they did. The Darnell Mooney pass down the field. He caught it. And then there was another play that ended up being a pass interference that ended up being the Saints' demise in the game versus the Falcons. But he gave his receivers an opportunity to make a play. I feel like that's kind of, I just feel like when it comes to, being able to throw the ball up to Olave, give him a chance. Like, give him an opportunity to be able to come down with the football. Give these guys an opportunity to make a play. I just think that, it's good to go with the safe route. Ain't nothing wrong with checking it down, but it's okay to trust some of these receivers too. A lot of these big-time receivers don't be open, but it's the quarterback trusting that wide receiver to come down with the football, trusting his man from time to time. That's all I'm saying. Like, you got to be able to trust the guy. You can't just be, stat padding. I'm showing you how serious I can be. Carr pick 6 loss of the game. Rashid Shaheed and Debo holding all game. Let's see. It's not just solely on him, but his turnovers were a part of it too. 14 points off turnovers. It wasn't just him. But all I'm saying is, when Taysom Hill is a difference maker. I think we all can agree with that, right? Everybody can agree with that. Put a 1 in the chat, or put a T in the chat for Taysom if you believe that he is a difference maker. Because he is a difference maker, right? I think we all can agree that Taysom Hill is a difference maker. But you have a lot of talented players on the offensive side of football that you're not utilizing. And you're basically running Alvin Kamara into the ground. I just think that you need to be a little bit more creative, because Taysom Hill, great player. Don't get me wrong. Really, really good, really, really talented. But he has had a history of being injured, being knocked out of games. And you add the fact that he's 34 years old, still trying to do something out there on the field, and honestly doing something that he has not done, as an NFL player or even a football player in general in some positions. You're asking him to do that with a pretty banged up body that is 34 years old. So to me, I understand that he is a difference maker, but you also have to take that into account. Like, you got to think about every scenario. You can't just think about, oh, Taysom is here, let's call these plays. You got to think about man, you know what? Taysom didn't play in the Eagles game. Taysom left against the Falcons. Man, we might want to kind of change it up, try to do something a little bit different here. Try to utilize some of these other guys that have been sitting on the bench for the last couple of weeks. How about throwing a pass or setting up a package for Cedric Wilson? Guys out there blocking his heart out. How about throwing a pass to him, make him feel, like he a part of this offense and not just another offensive lineman out there. Mason Tipton, nobody really knows what he can do. I'm pretty sure what I've heard is true, that he can fly. So how about the fact that they don't really know his tendencies? How about sending him out there on a deep pass instead of everybody just looking at Rashid Shaheed doing it? How about that? Oh, snap, man, the young bull got us. Come up with different plays. Like, it used to be, oh, man, Devery Henderson. Everybody knew that Devery Henderson was the 9-route artist out there for the Saints, right? But when teams were doing that, what did the Saints do? Shoot, Robert Meacham, he can do the same thing, right? Rather it was a flea flicker or him actually going down the field, running past somebody. Like, try to come up with different ways. If teams feel like, okay, Shaheed is in, he's going to do this, let Tipton do that. Nobody knows what he can do. Tipton had 1 catch for 4 yards. So, how about trying to, there was a play in a Super Bowl. It was the Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The first play, it was Sky Moore who was in motion, but then he ran a drag route and he ended up catching a touchdown. The next series, they got down to the goal line. They ran the same play with Kadarius Toney on the opposite side. On the opposite side, they ran the same play, and he scored a touchdown. So when everybody was looking at Sky Moore, they was like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Everybody was paying attention to him. But then they flipped the field, and they did the same exact thing. So utilize some of these other guys out here that you don't have to worry about putting all the pressure on Taysom Hill to be able to come through for you, to try to save you in those type of situations, is all I'm saying. Because, he may not be out there. Kirk Cousins' throw wasn't a bad throw. The receiver slipped. Yeah, I mean, even that interception, that's true. Kirk Cousins, he trusted his wide receivers in some of those crucial situations. He was trusting the wide receiver the first 2 games. Don't know what happened these 2 games. I think it had a lot to do with the fact of, the defense is switching it up. You're playing 2 safeties, to the back, making sure that you don't give up nothing deep, and what made that play so special was the Dallas Cowboys was in quarters coverage, which means you had your safeties back, right? But he was able to slice in between those safeties, which is unheard of. Like, it's a low probability that you're going to be able to do that. Only a few of the wide receivers in the league that can do something like that. And Tyreek Hill is one of them. And if you mention Tyreek Hill, that it had to be something special. So teams aren't going to allow that to happen. So that's the reason why. But you got to find other ways to be able to get the ball down the field and create explosive plays, because that opens up, that opens up endless possibilities. So I just think that you just need to get back to that. He was I already read that. He says the question is how many plays we have outside of Taysom. That's what I want to know, because it just seems like the offense it seems like the playbook with Taysom is about that big, right? Let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, about that big, right? Real wide, like the yellow pages, right? But it's like when he not out there, and the question is why? Look, you got to be able to use some of these young players out here, man. That's what they out there for. Or maybe they just got them because they above average blockers. I don't know. TJ going Big Q style with the first in the chat. Oh man, nah. That's ironic. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, man, shouts out to Big Q. But nah, man, is I didn't even think about that, man. Shouts out to Big Q. But yeah, Big Q is synonymous with that, man. You know, he's definitely synonymous with that. I don't know, man. I know sometimes, you know, when I do the when I talk about Tallahassee, I can tell everybody put the one in the chat. I didn't even think about that, man. But shouts out to Big Q, man. Does an amazing job on the channel. There's a great person all around. Says Shaheed fumbled before Carr touched the field. Then he helped drive down the field. So that's football. Yeah. They say, I think we really could use Michael Thomas right now and Kendre Miller. I think you definitely can use Kendre Miller. And honestly, you know, the more I think about this team, and I know that they need some help on the offensive line, but I think the Saints may need to look at a running back, right? I think that Ollie Gordon out of Oklahoma State would be a good fit for the New Orleans Saints. You know, I think that, you know, if you keep Kamara, he can definitely be that change of pace, that guy that can complement Kamara if you decide to pay him, which I don't understand why you wouldn't. But you know, somebody like Ollie Gordon III, that would I feel like that would truly help out Alvin Kamara. So if the Saints was to like use a first round pick on Ollie Gordon III, I wouldn't be upset with that. Says Carr, the check down king, he's going to get AK destroyed, TJ. Yeah, that was not a good. That was, man, I felt bad for AK on that one, man. You know, he got a broken rib and he gets hit like that and he still stays in the game. You know, he played his heart out, man. He played his heart out. Yeah says that was Dallas game receiver slip, throw and coverage. Yeah, same thing with Dak Prescott. Same play. You know, receiver trip, interception. Paulson Debo, Johnny on the spot. Let's see. All right now, TJ Devery is my family. Not saying you are wrong, but Bo was fast. Yeah, I mean Devery Henderson was fast. I mean he definitely was fast. But my point was he was the deep threat for the New Orleans Saints. Not to just say, oh man, you know, like 9 right route king. He ran other routes, but he was known for his you know, his big time speed and getting down the field. But their teams knew that, right? And when they decided to kind of make sure that he don't do anything down the field, then the Saints send Robert Meacham down the field. And the next thing you know, like another splash play. We all know about those flea flicker plays that the Saints were known for with Robert Meacham down the field for a touchdown. We know about that, right? They changed it up. I'm going to take a few more, and then we're going to go ahead and get out of here, folks. Says TJ, it seems like to me they only want to get the ball to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed. Well, I mean, yeah, it seems that way. And teams are starting to realize that, Greg. And you don't want to be one-dimensional. So is it the plays? Is it the fact that, you know, they're not opening it up that makes the team look one-dimensional? Are they not accounting for Taysom Hill not being out there? Like, what is going on? Because you're going to have to figure something out, because it seems like teams are figuring them out. But I think with Kendre Miller, I think if he comes back, I think he can be a really good complement to Alvin Kamara and give Alvin Kamara some breathers, you know, especially down the stretch, because, I mean, the touches are starting to get up there and he's already dealing with injuries. So to have somebody like Kendre to come in to help him out, if Kendre can replicate some of the games we've seen when he was out there, I think they'll be fine. I said this before, what is Carr without Taysom? Until you can't win without Taysom, give me a franchise quarterback. Well, I say this. He's good enough to keep you in the game, but consistently win the game is another question. Like that's another question for me. And there were games where if the Saints didn't have a really good defense, then, you know, you wonder to yourself, how would those games would have ended up? Because they weren't able to move the ball offensively, and he couldn't really get anything going from the quarterback position. So we gotta be grateful that the New Orleans Saints have you know, a formidable defense. Now, the final minutes of the game, it's a whole nother story. Like we got to be real with ourselves. If you drive, 20 miles right to your house, and then all of a sudden, you drive perfectly for 19.9 miles or something like that, right? And all of a sudden you crash into a fire hydrant. Guess what? Doesn't matter where you started and how well you drove. You hit the fire hydrant, right? Water is everywhere. There's a dent in your car. Everybody's looking outside like, oh my goodness, this is the fire hydrant neighborhood. How you didn't see that? All that embarrassing stuff, right? So it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, folks, like how great you play for, 50 minutes, 58, 59 minutes of the game, or however how long you were out there as a defense, right? What matters is when you have one possession and you are the deciding factor between your team winning and your team losing, what are you going to do? And the Saints have wet the bed. I mean, it's just the truth. They've wet the bed. So it really doesn't matter. Nobody's going to say, man, my goodness, for 19.9 miles, man, you sure drove well if your car is split in two because it hit a fire hydrant. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, man. Taysom is 34 years old. They're going to destroy him too. Well, I don't think they're going to destroy him. They just got to make sure that they understand that he is 34 years old. And, I mean, he's had his fair share of injuries. TJ, why not spread when teams go heavy? Three receiving tight ends. Number one, Derek, you would need one receiving tight end because what I've seen from Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson is not good enough. It's not good enough, man. And I don't know, man. Maybe the young guy, Dallin Holker, can do something. I don't know, man. I don't know why they just don't let Hulkamania run wild. I just do not know. Right? I just don't understand why they just don't let Hulkamania run wild. Like he can't do any worse than what I've seen. And I just think that that's something that the Saints may need to take a look at. I think that they need to start challenging these guys. Like you can't, if this isn't working, challenge them. Like try to get that, like try to mix some things up. Like me personally, when you seen Paulson Adebo struggling, like I just felt like you should have kind of approached it like, that game with Alante Taylor against the Rams. He struggled and they ended up benching him, right? But the next week, he never was benched after that, right? And now he looks like the best player in the secondary. Looked like one of the best nickel corners in football. So all I'm saying is when you challenge guys, they're going to do two things. They're going to rise to the occasion or they're going to crumble up like paper. Regardless, you have a sample size, a large enough sample size to know who that player is. So I don't know, man. How about giving Kool-Aid McKinstry an opportunity? I mean, you draft him in the second round. He's supposed to be a really good corner. So I don't know. Try something different. You see the guy was getting picked on and you did nothing to try to help him. That's concerning. Shout out to Louisiana and the Superdome renovations. The Superdome will be 50 years old next year, and it looks like it was open yesterday. Yeah, I checked it out, man. Went into the Caesar Superdome with the renovations. It looked really nice in there, man. If the Rattler talk starts, Carr will play better. Well, everybody talking about the agenda. I'm not ready for the agenda yet. I want to see this team be able to figure out what they're going to do. Rather it's going to be they're going to find some levels of success and they decide that I don't know, we're going to try to go with the young guy, or you just basically going to kind of rip this whole thing up, and maybe the new coach will be able to give him opportunity. I don't know, but right now I don't think I want to see that. But I will say this. I think that the Saints would benefit from a quarterback with the ability to scramble. Like, I'm not saying that Spencer Rattler would scramble, right? Like, I'm not saying like he Lamar Jackson or anything like that, right? But if the pocket collapses and he sees some yards he can actually get, I can see him running for the first down. I think that can benefit your offensive line. I think when you have a questionable offensive line, that has issues with protecting. If you have a quarterback that can kind of move outside the pocket, it might benefit him because, you don't have to worry about holding of that defensive player for 5 Mississippis, Like, I think that will probably be beneficial to the New Orleans Saints, in my opinion. To have a back that can be able to move if it's 3rd and 3 and the pocket is collapsing, he can just slide in between and get down for the first down. I don't see that very often because and it's not Derek Carr's fault in that regard. Like, he's a pocket passer. He likes to stay in the pocket. So, but I think that in this situation, you got to have the ability to be able to move sometime, especially when that pocket collapses. TJ, why don't we use Jamal Williams on the goal line? I don't know. It has to do with maybe how Taysom Hill is successfully running the football on the goal line, getting the touchdown majority of the time. So maybe that's the reason why. But when he leaves the game, I definitely feel like you should use him in a goal line situation. I wish I can answer that question for you, but I can't. He is very mobile. He don't sit in the pocket. Well, I mean, he makes plays from the pocket. I'm talking Rattler. He can make plays from the pocket, but if the pocket just so happens to collapse, right? He can run out and be able to run. Like, for example, in the game in preseason, I know it's preseason, but that's the only thing I can kind of evaluate him on. There was a play, he was able to roll out of the pocket when he was under duress, and he ran towards the pylon, got the touchdown. Sometimes you need that in a quarterback, especially when you have a struggling offensive line. So I think that could be beneficial to him. And I think that some of those plays and some of those drives that stall because maybe the wide receiver slip or there's nobody open, he got to take a sack or throw the ball away. That could be a play where that particular running quarterback, scrambling quarterback, to be able to make a play. I'm not saying you got to be Vic. I'm not saying you got to be Lamar, but have the ability to scramble when something breaks down. When Trevor Penning is on his back, right? When he down on bending knee, right? Be able to move out of the pocket in order for him to get a first down. While that defensive player may be pushing him back, you can go around, him, and it can be a first down. Something like that, not anything like, he had 9 carries for 117 yards. No, not nothing like that, but scramble. Once the pocket collapsed, so does Derek Carr. Says facts. Jamal Williams picked up hit check wearing a ski mask because he definitely robbed. D. Granger, that was a good one right there. But yeah, I mean, you got to be able to utilize this guy. Says the coaches is not calling plays for the tight ends, and I believe. I got to believe that. But you got to ask yourself why. I mean, it was eating in the first game. I mean, Foster Monroe, I thought that was the start of something. I was like, Foster Monroe out there eating. I don't know what happened. Boy. All those plays just died a miserable death. Where is the pass rush? Too many first rounders and money being put into the D line for them to be this poo. Look, there wasn't much of a pass rush, man, and that's concerning. And I'm gonna tell you why, Eminem. You bring up an interesting point. It's alarming because you're going up against backups. You went up against backups with the Philadelphia Eagles. Lane Johnson left the game. Mekhi Becton left the game. So you had the right guard and the right tackle leave the game, and you couldn't even get pressure on Jalen Hurts. Then you don't have the center for the Falcons, and you don't have the right tackle, and it was getting stonewalled by Storm Norton. And we all know who Storm Norton is because he played for the Saints as a backup offensive lineman. And you couldn't get any pressure on Kirk Cousins, who is statue 2.0 in this story. When we talk of Derek Carr 1.0, Kirk Cousins 2.0, right? They're not going anywhere. They're standing in the pocket. They're looking, right? They're standing strong. And there were times where Kirk Cousins can knit a sweater back there. I mean, I literally counted 7 seconds, one pass that, one back to pass that Kirk Cousins had. Got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And I just don't know what it is, man. I don't know if it's just the technique. I don't know if it's the coaching. I don't know what it is, man. But you got to be able to get pressure on a quarterback, and it don't seem like they're getting it. Unless it's Alante Taylor on some type of exotic. TJ, I can't wait to see Smitty get on your head tomorrow, NFC South Roundtable. Y'all make sure you tune in. I don't understand, why you feel like he's going to get on my head. I mean, they won by 2 points. And like I said, the Saints gave the Falcons 14 points. I mean, you can celebrate. Yeah. You can be happy about it. Yeah. But to me, I mean, I said this before, and I'll say it again just because you're here, Richard. I feel like I learned more about the Saints and who they were than with the Falcons and who they are. Like, I think when it comes to the Falcons, like I said, the last couple of wins that the Falcons have had, like luck kind of swung their way. And it kind of hiding the inconsistencies and the imperfections of the football team, kind of similar to the New Orleans Saints the first 2 weeks of the season. Like right now, the Falcon fans are feeling like how the Saints fans felt the first 2 weeks of the season. Because, if you had a drop pass, I mean, if it wasn't a drop pass by Saquon Barkley, how would you be feeling right now, right? If it wasn't for some of these self-inflicted wounds, who knows how that game would have been on Sunday? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's when I'm looking at this team, I looked at it when they played against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I looked at them when they played against the New Orleans Saints. That offense wasn't able to do much, and it's been like that for a while. Like Kyle Pitts, besides that, like that big run that he had against Kansas City, I want to say it was like a 50-yard completion. I mean, but he didn't do anything in the game versus the Saints, and that seemed like that's a reoccurring thing. Then Drake London, I mean, he's had some success, but he didn't really do as much. He had 12 targets on Sunday, and he had 6 catches, I want to say, for like 50-some-odd yards. And most of that came in the first half. So there's some chemistry issues offensively. And Bijan Robinson, I don't know if it was the shoulder injury or what, he hasn't been a non-factor for 2 weeks. Kansas City was able to shut him down as well as the New Orleans Saints. So I just think that in the heat of the moment, and when it comes to like, celebrating, that kind of gets swept under the rug, back to what I'm saying. So I just feel like, I learned a lot about this Saints football team. They're hand wrapping wins around this thing for teams. And it's almost like, I use this example. It's like a friend that is telling another friend, "Oh, you look good in that, man. You think so? Yeah, you look good." And then they go out the house, and then everybody look like, "Oh, man, what you got on?" Right? Start laughing, chuckling at them. My case in point is the Philadelphia Eagles. They played against the New Orleans Saints. They shut down the New Orleans Saints, and then the next week, slapped around by Tampa Bay. So I'm just wondering, like, is this another, girl, you look good, my guy, you look great type moment? I just want to know, because I just think that, the mistakes that the Saints are making, it causing themselves hardship, is helping these other teams instill confidence. Now, how far will you go with that confidence? Who knows? But it also kind of covers up it gives you a false sense of reality of what your team is and who they are, or it could. I'm just saying. But who knows, man? Who knows? I'm just talking about what I'm talking about and saying what I saw. Says Murray ran better than Williams. Why don't they run into the end zone? I don't know, man. I wish I knew. I wish I knew, but timing out a Falcon fan is the best relief I can receive. Go on, man. You gotta let them talk their stuff, man, Jerry. You gotta let them talk their stuff, man. Because if we would have won, we would have been all over the place, man. Let them talk their stuff. They happy about it. I said Chase Young ain't playing out like we hoped. Figure he and Granderson would be reckoned by now. It's bad when Peyton Turner is the only guy with a sack. Yeah. Yeah, that tells you everything you need to know right there. He just led the NFL a year ago in red zone touchdowns. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but he also ran behind a really good offensive line in Detroit. So if you think Jamal Williams can outrun somebody, I'm done talking to you. Chase Young, big for nothing. Somebody said, I can't remember who it was, but they said that Chase Young is a Marcus Davenport with a name. I was like, wow, that's a good way of putting it. Let's see. I'm willing to put some money on it. We put money on what now? I don't know what we put money on. Says Dennis Allen better make sure he run laps this week for the dumbass play or that punt. Yeah, that was a bad play, man. But I guarantee you, he won't do that anymore for the rest of his career. Said I don't give a F if they are happy. They still suck. I still feel like that's I think it was more about what the Saints didn't do more so than what they did. Let's see how Brian Bazee one getting double because he good in the interior as a pass rusher. Believe me, I can't stand them, TJ. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like these wins mean a whole lot more to them than it does to Saints fans, and I don't know, man. I think it has a lot to do with the fact, I think in some ways it kind of, it's an envy factor. And I'm not just saying this to be a homer. I just think that, when you talk to Saints fans, it seems like, you can't really waver them or make them feel bad about any situation, rather it's, egregiously bad or whatever. It's like, oh, man, y'all suck. Y'all suck. All right, man, I'm still singing Who Dat. And it's like the fact that you can't really bend them or make them break. I think that that's the most frustrating thing about it. And by winning, they feel like, they want to see Saints fans crumble and just fall apart, because that's mostly what I'm getting. Like, people are like, oh, you crying, you coping with the situation. And I'm like, I'm just responding to what the person doing. And they'll constantly like respond, wanting you to like incite some level of emotion out of you or something. Like, dude, I'm good. Like, don't y'all know I'm about to go on Tuesday and I get paid to talk about your team? I'm not doing it for free. Like, I'm getting paid by a network to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care. Like, I'm like getting paid to talk bad and talk ish about your rival, man. Where do I sign? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care, at the end of the day. But I get it, but it don't really faze me at all. Like, I ain't losing no sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's pretty cool to be able to do what I'm loving to do on a sports tip, at the same time, like, being appreciated by a network to think enough of me to give me that opportunity. You get what I'm saying? So it don't really bother me, man. I mean, I just feel like, hey, I never felt like either team was going to sweep the other. I just thought that it was going to be a win apiece, and I think I still stand by that. So, no disrespect, TJ, but I'm listening to a Falcon fan. It's like taking it out of the medicine, sickening. Yeah, man. I mean, they got a lot of Falcon fans, that listen and watch this show. Shouts out to Red Swarm. Shouts out to Courtney. Like they have some ones up in there. They talk their stuff, man, but they're respectful with it. I had high hopes for Kendrick Miller. I still do. I think that he'll do something. Saints one ring, Atlanta onion ring. I still troll those Falcons. Do you feel like Penning should drop some weight? I think that Trevor Penning should drop out the starting lineup. That's what I think he should drop. Deja vu from last year, TJ. Yeah. I mean, they beat the Saints in Atlanta last year, and the Saints beat them down in New Orleans, and I ain't talking about down like down in New Orleans. I'm talking about a beat down in New Orleans, So let's see. TJ really been doing this since 2018 off of Ryan Fitzpatrick. LOL. I hate he give it to use that game, but I'm glad We got content. Salute, TJ. Yeah, Zell, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's where it all started. Ryan Fitzpatrick being mad because Ryan Fitzpatrick lit the Saints up for 400 plus yards. Let's see. TJ, before you go, how come a Dennis Allen led team always finds a way to lose the game? It's like we win 2 or lose 3 or win 1, lose 2. I wish I knew. And that's one of the reasons why I just said I'm just out on it. Like, I'm watching the games. I'm not praying on their downfall. I am not. But I just look at everything that they're doing is things that are not going to be sustainable. And I don't feel bad about saying that. I'm not saying, oh, I want the team to lose, because, you know, people have those insinuations like, you want to see the team lose. You want to see the team fail. You wanted to see the team lose too. No, I did not. No, I did not. But when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Like, I'll give an example before I get up out of here. If you gave somebody $5, right? Hey, bro. Hey, man, I just need $5 from you. Then you can give me $5? Yeah, all right, bro. I give you $5. Bam, give you $5, right? I give it back to you. Okay, cool. Time passed by. Same person comes up to you, be like, hey, man, I know I borrowed $5 from you. I ain't get it back, but man, I really need this $5, man. I'm serious, man. I really need $5. Can you please give it? I promise you, I'm going to give it back to you. Matter of fact, I'm going to give you the $10. I'm going to give you both the 2 5s that I'm going to get from you. I promise. You'll probably think about it, kind of be reluctant, but like, all right, man, it's just, all right, bro. I'm going to give it to you, all right? I'm going to give it to you. Third time, person's coming to you. Hey, bro, hey, man, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there, big dog. I already know what you're going to say. I'm not going to give you $5. I gave you $5 the first time, and I didn't get it back. I said, cool. Gave it to you again. You promised me that you was going to pay me back, and you didn't. This time, I'm not going to do it. Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me 2 times, shame on me, right? Third time, I ain't going to be fooled again. It's just that simple. It's just that simple, man. When somebody shows you this pattern of them winning 1, losing 1, you know, saying the same old thing. We got to clean this up, clean that up. I'm making it easy for the cleanup woman. Like, all this cleaning up that you're doing, bro, it ain't sustaining success. And at the same time, the morale of your locker room is getting low. There's only so many times, like, you can tell these guys, y'all fighting hard. These guys are professionals. They're going to go out there and play. But at the same time, man, nobody wants to feel like they're hitting their head against a brick wall. Nobody wants to be nobody wants to be the cadet for Captain Cliche. Like, for real, I don't want to be the cliche cadet here, right? I want to be able to do my job and reap the benefits of me doing said job. And if that doesn't happen, then guess what? Maybe, you know, we need a different voice in this locker room, is all I'm saying. How many times are we going to have to go through this? Come on, baby. Come on, man. Baby need a new pair of shoes. Craps. Damn. Man, come on, man. Baby need clothes. Craps. Come on, baby. Come on, man. I just put my house on the line. Craps. How many times are you going to hit that table, man, go crap out and just say, oh, what, you going to keep on spending money? Oh, man, hey, man, I think you need to walk away from the table. What you mean I need to walk away? Get off me, man. Get off my arm. I'm trying to play here. Man, come on, man. Be serious about this. Hope and all that kind of stuff is cool, but when somebody is showing you, you got to believe it, man. And everybody fell for it, man. Everybody fell for it. First couple of weeks of the season, everybody was all on cloud 9. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we feel the way that we do, because they started off on such a high note that the expectations that we had for them kind of went out of the window. Oh, y'all capable of this? Y'all can do this? Oh, man, we winning this game, that game. Man, Kansas City, y'all can get it too. That's how you felt. But then it's like, real New Orleans Saints, please stand up, like it says in the thumbnail. The real New Orleans Saints, please stand up. That is what I'm asking here today. And I'm just saying, if I don't know who you are, 47, 44 points one week, 12, and then what, 20, 24? I don't know what you are. You sound like some lottery numbers or something. Maybe I need to play that. Give me one more number and maybe I'll have a couple million in my pocket. But all I'm saying is we need to know who you are as a team. We need to know who you are as a team. We don't know. So the only thing we have to, like, to me, only thing I have to do is to go on the trend that I have seen. Winning 2, losing the next 2, losing the next 3, win 1, lose 1, win 1, lose 1, win 2. Like, come on, man. And we're supposed to sit up here and say, man, I still saying, bro, Super Bowl, like, come on, man. I've been a Saints fan since I was 4 years old. I said this on X today for some of you that saw that tweet, like, just afford me a few minutes. I've been a Saints fan since I was 4 years old. When I do these type of shows, yes, a part of me is still that 4-year-old kid that was sitting on my grandmother's living room floor listening to Jim Henderson and the late great Hokie Gajan call the games because the games were blacked out because the Saints weren't very good. So there was always, it made me feel like a throwback. Y'all know, like, when you used to watch these classic movies and it's in the 30s and they're playing the Joe Louis fight on the radio and you got the grandpa, you know what I'm saying, mimicking the rights and the lefts. That's kind of how I felt listening to the New Orleans Saints games. Oh, it's first and down. Jim Everett wiped the sweat off his brow. Players to the left, to the right. Like you're listening to this stuff with that childlike enthusiasm. And a part of you just wants this team to do well so bad. And when you see that they have the capability, it hurts even worse. Like, seriously, it hurts even worse. When I was listening to those games growing up as a kid, I kind of knew the Saints were going to lose the football game, but it was just the fact that was my favorite team. And, it's almost like, that it's like that car that you had, no pun intended, that you loved, it probably need to go to the junkyard. But when you hear that engine purr, man, it just rolls back to the time when you first got it. And you just can't let it go. Right. But when you look at the modern day New Orleans Saints and they got the capability of going far and they don't, it just frustrates you. It just frustrates you. It makes you very, very upset because if they get out of their own way, they will find the success that we're seeking. And because they can't get out of their own way, we find ourselves in 2 weeks of misery unnecessarily. So this is why I want people to understand. Don't think that I'm just sitting up here. Oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm just doing this based on emotion. I don't know what this team is. And I jumped out of the window because, like I said, that 4-year-old part of me wants this team to look like the team that, I had to go through the motions to find from 2006 to the modern era. So, of course, I wanted to see this team successful. Of course, I'm going to ride this team. Of course, I'm going to sit up here and support this team because this is my favorite team. I'm going to rock with my squad, right? So I don't feel bad about that. Going on NFC South roundtable, like towing the bell. I'm still going to do that because a loss don't really faze me when it comes to me believing in this football team. But the guy that is the head coach of this team, and a quarterback not being able to get this team over the hump when situations aren't in perfect form just makes me just wonder, can they do it? So hopefully, hopefully they can get it together. I believe in these players. I think the players can get it done. But at the same time, you can't get upset with someone because they believed in something. And you look and you look and you look and you look some more and you see that it's basically the same old thing. It's like driving to your house and not going the traditional way. Or, hey, where we going? Where we going? Hey, hey, we back at the house. You know, like, or using a different scenic route that you ain't used before. Oh man, I ain't never seen that house before. It's a pine. Oh, that's nice. Oh, this was by my house. That's kind of like what it is. Like, you know, I ain't never gone this way before, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's new to me. I'm thinking something different, but man, I'm end up by the house. The same. Like, wait a minute. So you mean I could have just walked out down here, made a right, and I would have been in the same spot? Huh? So, you know, you adjust accordingly. People say, man, you weren't saying that the first 2 weeks. Why would I? Why would I say that the first 2 weeks? Well, what I was supposed to say? Oh, they won 47-10. Oh man, well, same old. Like, come on, man. It's not the same old thing. So, of course, if you see 40 points in 2 weeks, you thinking that you're seeing something different, and then the last 2 weeks you're seeing them revert back to the same thing. Like, okay, man, I was pretty high on the horse here. Let me get down off your tea biscuit. Let me walk you to the river, have a drink. The way I feel. But thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, brought to you and powered by BETUS. Sign up today, get up to 150% on your first deposit, 125% on your second and third deposit. All you have to do is go to BETUS, use the promo code YouTube150. Shouts out to everybody that was here on this episode. Shouts out to everybody that was listening. Couldn't make it tonight, couldn't make it, but still checking out the episode. Shouts out to them after show boys.
Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. They be tweet and be post, they be tweet and be post, they be tweet. Yeah, them after show boys. They be tweet and be post, they be tweet and be post, they be tweet. Yeah, them after show boys.
Shouts out to all the after show boys, after show girls out there. Corey, I'm reading your comments that TJ Carr did his part. He drove down and got us the lead. I talked a little bit about that in detail earlier in the episode, man. I don't know exactly where, but if you kind of came in a little bit late, you can kind of rewind towards the beginning of the opening dialogue of the show, or monologue, I should say. You know, check it out. Tell me what you think. I kind of went into detail. I pretty much said that's kind of the MO, you know, like, but I went into detail. I went into detail on that. But thank you all so much. Have a great morning, noon, night, whenever you're checking out this podcast. Please hit the like button. Please hit the like button on your way out. Okay. And you can follow me on X at TJAYJones8. All I got to say is,
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.